Hello, and welcome to the fourth part of the Lockdown Coda. Lockdown in Sydney in July 2021, and judging by the figures this morning that the Premier announced, we won't be coming out of lockdown anytime soon. So we will be doing a video every day, hopefully, and talking about JavaScript and aspects of JavaScript. This could be random, generally aimed at beginners, but there's no particular order. It just depends on how I'm feeling in the lockdown each day. So today I thought we'd bring you some information, some knowledge about console.log, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But if you remember, if you just bring up your Google page or any page in your Chrome browser, and we use Chrome because most developers tend to use Chrome, or at least they did when I was developing full-time. I think a lot of the browsers have caught up, but Chrome is still really, really good. So if you just hit F12, then you should get the developer tools window. Hit F12 again, it disappears. On a Mac, you can do Command Option I. I'm not sure about the Windows equivalent there. Or you could right click or control click and just go inspect, and you'll bring the window up. When you bring the window up, as we said before, you want the console. Now, we're going to talk about the console today, and in particular console.log, because I was inspired by my youngest son, who just did a Python tutorial or first lesson, because we are launching some Python coding tutoring next term, and I wanted a student to do, a dummy student to do not a dummy, but a student to do a lesson test. So he stepped into the breach, and he absolutely loved it. He did it with our tutor, not me, and it went really, really well. And he actually wants to do the rest of them as well. And he told me before he wasn't really interested in coding. So we'll be launching Python tutoring in term 4. But today, the reason why, as I was saying, was that they did the print statement in Python as their first lesson 1. So I'm going to do the console log statement, and that shouldn't actually take us too long. I've spent about 4 minutes talking already. So I've got about 6 minutes, because these sessions are only 10 minutes. They're bite-sized coding chunks. 10 minutes of coding a day keeps support away. So let's get started. So the first thing you want to know is how to print out some text in the console. If you go console dot, and if I stop there, you can see all of the methods and properties on the console object. So when you do a dot after any object, JavaScript console will come up with all of the things you can use. So you can just go through them with your cursor like that. And funnily enough, the only thing that you really ever will use here is probably log, to actually log some text. Say, hello, my name is Pete. So this would be the simplest thing you could do. Hit enter, and it basically will echo that to the screen. So if you had a program in some other editor and you wrote console.log, then at the right time when it ran that code and you were in, say, some website, you're coding some website, if you looked in the console, you'll see this text in the console. So it's great for really finding out what's going on in your code. For instance, I could write a little program to count to 10. So let's do that. Let's create a little function. Count to 10. And can I do that? Yes, I can do that. So let's have a variable starting at 0. Actually, no, let's just do a loop. We haven't done loops, but just bear with me for this one. Now I put a console log here, and I'm going to print out the value of I, okay? So all I need to do is console.log. Log is the method on the console object, and methods always have brackets or parentheses, opening and closing. Remember, if you open one, you always have to close one, close it. And inside, we're going to pass I to the log method. So internally, log is just going to print out I. Okay, so what we've said so far is let's create a loop to count to 10. Our variable we're going to use as the counter is called I. I is going to start from 0, and I is going to increase by 1 each time. That's what the I++ does each time we go round, until it's less than, well, until it equals 10, because we'll test it to see, is I still less than 10? If it is, then we'll run the code inside the for loop. Okay, I'm just going to finish off the for loop now, and I'm going to finish off the function. I'm going to hit enter. When I hit enter, then count to 10, the function here will be added to Chrome's memory list of functions. And again, it says undefined, which I find annoying because we're not returning anything from the console.log. So it just says you return undefined. Now this means, let me clear it, we can now call count to 10. Okay, so let's do it. And to call a method or a function, let's call it a function, because if I hit up arrow, it shows me the last thing I did. Let's call it a function because we've said we're defining a function, count to 10, so that's what it is. So let's, hang on, I'm going to clear this again. Come on, clear. Oh, goodness me. Let's delete it then. Let's call count to 10. So I start writing, and as you know, it's in Chrome's memory, so it's going to tell you everything that's in its memory that matches what you're typing. Press the right arrow to complete it, and put your parentheses on the, if you don't put the parentheses on the end, all it's going to do is tell you that count to 10 is a function, which is why there's an F underneath right now. It's like you've asked it the question here, what is count to 10? And it said, well, it's a function. There you go. You haven't asked it to run count to 10. You just said, what is count to 10? So if I hit enter now, it says, well, it's a function. There you go. What else do you want to know? So don't expect it to run if you just type that. If you want it to run, you actually have to append the parentheses on the end. Now that will run the function now. And now it's not giving us an answer because it doesn't know what the answer is going to be. Yet it won't internally run the function straight away and give you an answer. So when we hit enter, just about out of time, there you go. That's what our function did. It counted from 1 to 10, and console log printed out 0 to 9. There. Now there are other things you can do with console log, which I haven't even gone into at all. I might just try very quickly do some stuff here. If I just set up some variables for a equals apple, remember strings. Oh, goodness me, I keep saying var. Sorry. As this is unscripted and unedited, I don't know what I'm doing, and this won't, you'll see all my mistakes. Okay. Let b equals banana, and let c equals carrot. Carrot. All right. So if I get console.log. All right, so if I'd done that, that's kind of nonsense. I need to, if you want stuff to print out, you have to put it in a string, because JavaScript will say, oh, I know what a string is, but I don't know what I space like is. That's kind of nonsense. So the I like space, comma A, comma B, comma C. Let's see what happens there. I didn't even know it was going to happen. I like apple, banana, carrot. Or you could go... pretty sure you could do that better. I wonder if I could do this. I hope I'm not teaching you terrible techniques here. Maybe say and. Oh, look at that. I like apple, banana, and carrot. And can you see that it's added spaces for me? That's fantastic. So I don't even need to do that. I can make this even better and go like this. I didn't even put a space, because if you've got to put spaces around things, it gets really fiddly and annoying. This is a way better way of printing stuff out, and let JavaScript take the spaces for you. All right. So basically that's the end of the session. Inspired by my youngest son, because he did the print statement in Python, which looks a bit like this. Print hello world. Okay, so that would be, if in Python you do that, and that if you do that in your console, it'll actually try to print it on your printer. And the equivalent in JavaScript, console log hello world. All right, or HAL world. This has been the Lockdown Coder from Sydney. Remember, 10 minutes of coding a day keeps Bill Gates at bay. So I will see you in the next session. Thank you.